Just a few months ago, researchers were stunned when they discovered that one simple food choice could mean the difference between independence and dependence after 60. And here's the shocking part: it wasn't about exercise or medication or even genetics, it was about bread. Yes, something as ordinary as the bread on your table could either strengthen your body or quietly weaken it every single day. If you're over 60, you've probably noticed your body changing in ways no one warned you about. Maybe you feel more tired after meals, maybe your digestion seems slower, or maybe you've lost a bit of strength in your legs, your grip, or even your memory feels less sharp. And the common advice you've been given, just eat whole wheat, avoid butter, and take a multivitamin, may not be helping you at all. In fact, it could be the very reason you feel stuck. For decades, seniors were told that all whole grains are good and that bread is the safest filler food you can eat. Doctors repeated it, dietitians recommended it, and the food industry stamped heart healthy labels on almost every loaf in the store. But here's the truth: not all breads are created equal. Some are like slow-acting toxins, draining your muscles, spiking your blood sugar, and even accelerating memory decline. Others, on the other hand, are powerful, feeding your gut, stabilizing your energy, and keeping your joints and brain younger. And no, it's not about buying expensive supplements, powders, or fad diets. Pills won't undo the damage, creams won't make your arteries stronger, and skipping bread entirely isn't the answer either. Because the right kind of bread made with the right grains and methods can actually help reverse age-related decline. So in today's talk, I'll expose the 4 dangerous breads you should never touch again after 60, and I'll also reveal the 4 breads you should be eating almost daily if you want to stay strong, independent, and sharp. These foods are ranked from the least to the most powerful, so make sure you stay until the very end. You may be shocked to learn that one of the so-called health breads sitting on store shelves is quietly sabotaging millions of seniors' health every single day. And at the same time, there's an ancient bread, one you've probably walked past in the store, that holds the key to better digestion, stronger bones, and steadier blood sugar. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which is which. Quick question before we dive deeper: have you ever been told to avoid cheese? Yes or no? Type yes or no in the comments. I'm curious how many of you got that advice over the years. So let's begin. We still start with the first bread you should avoid at all costs after 60, and trust me, you sitch probably eaten it this week. Dangerous bread hash 1, white sandwich bread. Let's start with the most common bread in America, Europe, and even parts of Asia. It's soft, fluffy, and so familiar that you might have eaten it daily for decades. I'm talking about white sandwich bread, the classic loaf that's marketed as fortified, enriched, or even part of a balanced breakfast. But after 60, this type of bread can quietly become one of your worst enemies. For decades, people believed that as long as bread was enriched, it was healthy. But the truth is, enriching white bread means they take away nearly 30 nutrients during processing and then sprinkle back 4 or 5 synthetic ones. It's like robbing a bank and then handing back a few pennies to say you're making things right. That's not nutrition, that's marketing. Studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have repeatedly shown that refined breads raise blood glucose faster than even certain desserts. One study compared white sandwich bread to table sugar, and the bread actually spiked blood sugar faster. For seniors, these spikes don't just increase diabetes risk, they accelerate aging by a process called glycation, where sugar molecules damage your tissues, stiffen your joints, and even make your skin look older. If you still love the convenience of a sandwich, here's a simple step: replace white sandwich bread with a high-fiber alternative or even with lettuce wraps. Some seniors I worked with cut their afternoon fatigue in half just by ditching white bread for 30 days. Would you try cutting out white bread for just 1 week, yes or no? Dangerous bread hash 2, fake whole wheat bread. Now, here's where things get tricky. Many seniors did the responsible thing years ago. They ditched white bread and switched to what the food companies call whole wheat bread. You see the brown color, the word whole, and maybe even the little heart icon on the packaging, and you feel like you're making a smart, health-conscious choice. But here's the hidden truth: most whole wheat breads in the supermarket are nothing more than dyed, sweetened white bread in disguise. The myth is this: if it says whole wheat, it must be healthy. The reality is, labels are deceptive. Many loaves labeled whole wheat are made with refined flour first and only a tiny sprinkle of real whole grains. To make the bread look healthy, companies add molasses or caramel coloring so it appears brown, but nutritionally it behaves just like white bread. In fact, if the first ingredient on your bread label isn't 100% whole wheat flour, you're being sold a marketing trick. In a Harvard study of older adults, researchers found that only true whole grain breads made from 100% whole wheat or sprouted grains reduced the risk of heart disease and diabetes. The fake versions, those that used refined flour plus additives, had no benefit at all. Think about that. Millions of seniors may be eating bread every day that they believe is protecting their health. when in reality it's giving them no protection whatsoever. Here's the fix. Look at the ingredient label. The first word should be 100% whole wheat flours or sprouted grain. If you see enriched wheat flour, refined flour, or just the word wheat flours, put it back on the shelf. Those are code words for white flour. Real whole wheat breads are heavier, denser, and usually kept in the healthier food aisle or bakery section. They're not the soft, fluffy loaves that last for weeks on the shelf because real food spoils faster. This matters because real whole grains provide magnesium, B vitamins, and fiber, nutrients that keep your nerves firing, your digestion smooth, and your heart strong. Without them, you're left battling energy crashes, constipation, and higher risk of cardiovascular problems. And let's be honest, losing independence doesn't usually come from one dramatic event. It comes from small daily weaknesses building up over time. Fake whole wheat bread silently adds to that decline. Would you start checking your bread labels more carefully, yes or no? Do you think food companies should be forced to tell the truth about these fake his whole wheat set breads? Dangerous Bread 3 Gluten-Free Rice and Potato Breads. Over the past decade, a massive trend has swept through grocery stores and restaurants: gluten-free everything, gluten-free cookies, gluten-free pasta, and yes, gluten-free bread. For many seniors, especially those told they might have digestive sensitivities, these breads looked like the perfect answer. No wheat, no gluten, problem solved, right? Unfortunately, in most cases, the exact opposite is true. The myth is that gluten-free bread is automatically healthier. The truth? Unless you actually have celiac disease or a diagnosed gluten intolerance, gluten-free doesn't mean better. In fact, these breads often contain even less fiber, fewer minerals, and more additives than regular bread. Some brands even add extra sugar or gums to mimic the texture of wheat bread. It's a health trap that millions of well-meaning seniors fall into. Research published in Nutrients Journal revealed that people who replaced wheat with gluten-free rice and potato-based breads often ended up with higher blood sugar levels and lower fiber intake. Another study found that these breads had a higher glycemic index than traditional white bread. Think about that for a moment. The gluten-free bread that seems like the safer option may actually spike your blood sugar faster than the white sandwich bread you thought you were avoiding. If you must eat gluten-free bread, look for those made from nut flours like almond or coconut, or sprouted grains that are naturally gluten-free such as millet or quinoa. Better yet, experiment with low-carb wraps or sprouted bread alternatives that are naturally easier on digestion and higher in nutrients. And remember, many seniors do just fine with properly fermented breads like sourdough, even if they think they're gluten sensitive. Now, if gluten-free breads are risky, the next bread we still cover might surprise you even more. It sits marketed as artisanal, it sits expensive, and it sits supposed to be said gourmet. It sits, but for seniors, it could be the single most inflammatory choice of all. Have you ever tried gluten-free bread, yes or no? Do you think gluten-free is just a marketing fad or a real health solution? Dangerous Bread Hash 4 flavored and sweetened breads, honey wheat, cinnamon raisin, multigrain with sugar additives. Now we come to the most deceptive breads of all, the ones that sound almost too delicious to resist: honey wheat, cinnamon raisin, oat and honey multigrain with molasses. These breads are often sold as healthy indulgences, positioned right between the white loaves and the high-end bakery options. But here's the catch for seniors: these flavored and sweetened breads can be metabolic landmines. The myth here is simple. People think if bread has oats, raisins, or honey, it's somehow healthier. But in reality, most of these breads start with refined flour, then add sugar, raisins, honey, or molasses, making them just as bad as cake or pastries. The label may say multigrain, but unless it specifies 100% whole grain, it's often just white bread dressed up with sprinkles of seeds and sugar. In fact, a study in the British Medical Journal found that seniors who consumed higher amounts of refined grains plus added sugar had a significantly increased risk of metabolic syndrome, a dangerous cluster of symptoms including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, belly fat, and cholesterol issues. And researchers noted that so-called healthy sweetened breads were among the biggest hidden contributors. Simply put, that innocent slice of honey wheat can act more like a candy bar in disguise. If you enjoy flavor in your bread, here's a better option: buy a plain, truly whole grain or sprouted bread and add your own toppings. For example, sprinkle cinnamon onto real sourdough toast or add a touch of raw honey yourself. You'll use far less sugar than the manufacturers do, and you'll control the portion. That way you get the flavor without the metabolic chaos. Do you eat flavored breads like honey wheat or cinnamon raisin, yes or no? Do you think these breads should carry warning labels just like soda does? If you have already found a healthier swap for these sweet breads, share your tip. It could help someone watching right now. Section 5. Healthy Bread Hash 1 Sprouted Grain Bread. After hearing about all the breads to avoid, you might be wondering, so what can I eat? The answer begins with one of the oldest methods of bread making in human history, sprouted grain bread. Unlike refined white bread or fake whole wheat, sprouted grain bread isn't stripped down, it's unlocked. And for seniors, this makes all the difference. The myth is that all grains are hard to digest and bad for seniors, but the truth is it depends on how the grain is prepared. Sprouting is nature's way of pre-digesting the seed. It reduces compounds called antinutrients like phytic acid that normally block your body from absorbing minerals such as calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Without sprouting, those nutrients stay locked away. With sprouting, they're released for your body to actually use. According to a study published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology, sprouted wheat bread has a significantly lower glycemic response compared to refined wheat bread. That means steadier blood sugar levels, fewer crashes, and better long-term insulin sensitivity. Another study found that sprouting increases antioxidant levels, which can protect aging cells from damage. Imagine bread that not only avoids harming you, but actively shields your cells from aging faster. But sprouting isn't the only ancient secret. The next bread actually uses bacteria and fermentation, making it not just nutritious, but alive with probiotics that can heal your gut and sharpen your brain. If you already eat sprouted bread, share your favorite way to enjoy it. You might inspire someone watching. Section 6, Healthy Bread #2 Sourdough Bread. Now let's talk about a bread that has survived centuries even before modern science knew why it was special. It's rustic, tangy, and found in artisan bakeries. I'm talking about sourdough bread, one of the healthiest breads seniors can eat. And the secret isn't just in the grain, it's in the fermentation. For adults over 60, digestion can become a daily struggle. Acid reflux, bloating, constipation, these are common complaints. What makes sourdough unique is the way it's made. Instead of commercial yeast, sourdough uses a living starter, a mixture of wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria. These friendly microbes pre-digest much of the starch and gluten in the flour before you even take a bite. That means sourdough is easier to digest, less likely to cause blood sugar spikes, and may even help restore balance in your gut microbiome. The myth is that all bread is equally hard on digestion, but the truth? Sourdough bread acts more like a fermented food, similar to yogurt or sauerkraut than like standard bread. While most breads sit heavy in your stomach, sourdough often feels lighter and more satisfying. In fact, many people who think they're gluten sensitive discover they can enjoy real sourdough without the discomfort they get from ordinary bread. In a study published in Food Microbiology, researchers found that sourdough fermentation lowered the glycemic index of bread significantly compared to non-fermented breads. Another study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry showed that sourdough fermentation increased levels of beneficial compounds called prebiotics, which feed healthy gut bacteria. For seniors, this can mean steadier blood sugar, reduced inflammation, and even improved mood and brain function, since your gut and brain are more connected than most people realize. When shopping, look for true sourdough, not just bread with sourdough flavoring. Real sourdough has only a few ingredients: flour, water, salt, and starter. The fermentation process takes hours, sometimes days, not minutes. A good test. Ask your bakery if their sourdough takes more than 12 hours to rise. If it doesn't, it's probably not the real thing. Enjoy it toasted with olive oil as a sandwich base or paired with soup. It's hearty and nourishing. But sourdough isn't the only bread with ancient wisdom. The next bread has been eaten for thousands of years in the Middle East and Mediterranean. It sits flat, simple, and surprisingly powerful for heart health. If you already bake or buy sourdough, share your favorite way to eat it. You might inspire someone watching. Section 7, Healthy Bread #3 Rye Bread, Dark Whole Rye. When you think of bread that sticks to your ribs and keeps you full for hours, one type stands out: rye bread. Dark, dense, and earthy in flavor, rye has been a staple in Northern and Eastern Europe for centuries. And for seniors, rye bread offers unique benefits that ordinary wheat bread simply can't match. After 60, many people struggle with two big issues: blood sugar swings and constant hunger. Unlike fluffy white bread that leaves you hungry, an hour later, rye bread digests slowly and gives a steady release of energy. This can help reduce cravings, keep weight stable, and provide long-lasting fuel for both body and brain. For seniors, that means fewer afternoon crashes, fewer late-night snacks, and steadier concentration. The myth is that bread is bread, it all affects your body the same way, but rye is different. It has a special type of fiber called arabinoxalin that not only slows digestion, but also feeds beneficial gut bacteria. That means it supports both blood sugar balance and gut health at the same time. Most wheat breads can't do that. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that rye bread reduced post-meal blood sugar and insulin levels significantly compared to wheat bread. Another study in the Journal of Nutrition showed that rye fiber improved satiety hormones, meaning people naturally felt fuller and ate less throughout the day. For seniors trying to manage weight or avoid diabetes, rye isn't just bread, it's a metabolic tool. When buying rye bread, go for dark whole rye or pumpernickel. Be cautious. Many supermarket rye breads are just wheat bread with a little rye flour and some caramel coloring. True rye bread is denser, darker, and heavier. It may feel like you're eating less because the slices are smaller, but you'll stay full much longer. Try it with smoked salmon, avocado, or a hearty vegetable soup for a classic senior-friendly meal. Now, rye is excellent for steady energy, but the next bread takes us back even further to ancient traditions in the Mediterranean and Middle East. It's simple, flat, and easy to digest, and it could be one of the most heart-friendly breads you will ever eat. If rye bread is already in your diet, share your favorite topping or recipe. You might give someone new ideas. Section 8, Healthy Bread Hash 4, Traditional Flatbreads, Whole Grain Pita, and Lavash. When most people think of bread, they imagine fluffy loaves sliced in perfect squares, but if you travel back thousands of years or visit traditional communities in the Middle East, Mediterranean, or Central Asia, you'll notice something very different. Bread wasn't soft and sugary, it was flat, simple, and nourishing. I'm talking about whole grain flatbreads like pita and lavash, and for seniors, these may be the simplest, most practical, healthy breads to eat every day. Flatbreads are unique because they're usually made with just a handful of ingredients: whole grain flour, water, salt, and sometimes a touch of yeast or oil. Unlike modern packaged breads that are stuffed with preservatives, conditioners, and added sugars, flatbreads are often free of unnecessary chemicals. For seniors, this means less digestive stress, fewer hidden sugars, and a food that feels natural and light in the body. And because they're thinner, portion control becomes effortless. You don't end up eating 4 giant slices without realizing it. The myth is that flatbreads are just the same as any other bread, only in a different shape, but that's not true. Flatbreads often use whole grains, and because they're not pumped full of air or additives, they give you slow-burning energy without the sugar crash. They can also be an easier way to eat more vegetables and proteins since they naturally pair with hummus, grilled chicken, or fresh veggies instead of sugary jams and spreads. In a Mediterranean diet study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, seniors who ate traditional breads like whole grain pita, alongside olive oil, beans, and vegetables, had lower risk of heart disease and stroke compared to those who ate refined loaves. Another study found that flatbreads made with whole wheat had significantly higher fiber content and lower glycemic impact than common sliced breads. For seniors, that means steadier digestion, fewer blood sugar spikes, and better heart protection. Look for whole grain pita, chapati, or lavash, not the white versions made with refined flour. Whole grain flatbreads should look darker and feel heavier. They store well, toast beautifully, and make quick meals. For example, stuff a pita with grilled vegetables, hummus, and salmon for a heart-healthy lunch, or use lavash to roll up lean protein and greens for a light dinner. Seniors who switch to flatbreads often find they eat less bread overall, but feel more satisfied. This matters because heart health and energy are the foundation of independence. Whole grain flatbreads support your arteries, stabilize your mood, and keep you full enough to avoid constant snacking. Instead of draining your strength, they quietly fuel it. And because they're simple and versatile, they fit easily into almost any senior lifestyle. So now we have covered all 4 dangerous breads to avoid and the 4 healthy breads to enjoy daily. But before we close, I still share one powerful bonus tip, a way to combine these breads with certain foods so you get even more benefits from every bite. Do you eat pita or flatbreads already? Yes or no? So let's bring this all together. We uncovered the 4 breads you should avoid at all costs. After 60, white sandwich bread, fake whole wheat, gluten-free starch breads, and flavored sweet breads like honey wheat or cinnamon raisin. Each of these might look innocent, but in reality they steal your strength, spike your blood sugar, and accelerate decline. Then we discovered the 4 breads you should enjoy almost daily: sprouted grain bread, sourdough, rye, and traditional whole grain flatbreads like pita or lavash. These aren't just foods, they're tools for independence. They stabilize your energy, protect your heart, support digestion, and feed your brain. Remember, after 60, every food you eat is either pushing you toward independence or pulling you away from it. The wrong bread makes you weaker, hungrier, and more dependent. The right bread fuels your body, steadies your steps, and sharpens your mind. Think of every bite as an investment, not in calories, but in your future freedom. Here, sets a bonus. You can multiply the power of these healthy breads by pairing them with the right toppings. For example, sprouted bread with avocado and olive oil for healthy fats. Sourdough with smoked salmon for brain-friendly omega-3s. Rye bread with hummus for steady protein and fiber. Whole grain pita stuffed with veggies and beans for a Mediterranean heart boost. When you combine the right bread with nutrient-rich toppings, you create meals that not only taste incredible, but actively help you stay younger, longer. And here's Citra's the most important truth: it's Citra's never too late. Whether you Citra 60, 70, or even 80, changing what you put on your plate can transform how you feel tomorrow. Food is powerful, and bread of all things doesn't Citra's have to be your enemy. It can be one of your strongest allies. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these healthy breads will you add this week? What step's your favorite way to enjoy it? And what's one food topic you'd like me to cover in a future video? Type your answers in the comments. Your idea or experience could help another senior watching right now. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe. Without it, YouTube may not remind you of the next breakthrough I share. Tap that like button too when you like. This spreads to more seniors who need this information. And leave your comment, because your answer could be the reason someone else changes their health today.